Primus Tracks with Josh, Frankie, and Soya.
What a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, Primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations. I am Josh. Coming to us from Primus Tracks Towers in Mexico City is Frankie.
Hi, Josh.
Oh, you sound really excited, Frankie. I think we'll get to the reason why in a moment. And our third wheel, that's not nice, is Soya.
Ha! What's up, guys? Great to be back.
And we're actually putting a fourth wheel on this thing today, so we actually have some kind of traction and handling. And he couldn't be a better fourth wheel because we're going to put all the weight on him to do the steering. I don't know how cars work. We have with us a man who needs no introduction because when you hear his name, you will fall out of your chair and you'll probably need resuscitation. LaLonde, welcome to Primus Tracks.
Welcome, Ler.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my.
The fourth wheel is one of the best things I've been called all day.
Oh, hey, well, we should start there, man. Are you getting in fights out in the street, even in COVID times, or what?
Not right outside here, but there's trouble around here. Main streets of Los Angeles. I've seen some fights. I see them on TV.
Oh, on TV, yeah, sure.
You hear a helicopter, then you turn on the TV, and you're like, hey.
Oh yeah.
See the light going down the street, and then it goes over the houses, disappears, and that's it.
I used to
LA
be
style.
10 minutes in Venice, so.
I think it seems like we're starting to come out of it with the COVID thing because there do seem to be more and more fights these days. People are not keeping their distance anymore. They're okay with making that contact. Yeah. You know?
all the meatheads get to have bar fights again. Finally, So
yes,
yeah. See, there was a lack of.
They're going to bars, getting drunk, and going out front and fighting each other because they can again.
That's the least talked about part of the whole thing was the lack of bar fights.
That's right. These guys have been itching for it.
Right? Bar fighting in America.
Man.
The hospitals will be filling up with a different clientele here real soon, and the doctors and nurses will go, "Oh, I know how to treat this."
It's going to be interesting. I got to say, man, being in the industry, Ler, and you too know every day, because I work on our coffee shop, everybody that knows I work in the music industry come up to me and go, okay, what's going to be like? What's going to happen when it opens up again with music? And it's like, dude, I've been making coffee for a year and a month. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, man. I just can't wait to get back out there and do it is all I know.
I know that's the thing. That's all I can think about is like, just go do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
How are you holding up out there in LA, Larry?
Pretty well. It's been like kind of one of those things where it's, it's pretty mellow. It's pretty easy. I'm close to the beach, so there's lots of places to go and get out. It's like, when your flight's delayed and they tell you 20 minutes and they tell you 20 minutes, they don't tell you so it's kind of been one of those, like a year of that, well, for everybody, but
yeah, one
of these things where it's like, okay, we're going to maybe go on tour, and it's been a trickle. So there's always been that carrot on the stick that's kind of kept me going.
Man, my tour got pushed till June 22.
Dude. Oh. I don't want to see. That's the thing. I don't want to hear one of those kind of.
Well,
it was a little more involved, though.
Yeah, the Roger Waters tour is too big to just take a risk again. It was already set up, and they lost a bunch of money because it was set up and got pushed. They had to just withdraw all that stuff they got set up on. I mean, I know you guys were all set up a couple times now. It's not the same as 24 trucks into an arena.
No, I doubt you might want to hold off and not have to park those on the side of the road.
So they went another year, and rehearsal start in June next year. So
see, dude, you got something to look forward to.
But if Primus is going out this year, you better get me on it. Jesus Christ.
Dude, let's go. You know where we are. You know where to find us.
I know. I told Brad I'll be your assistant. I'll be Mills's assistant. I'll do anything, dude. Come on, I gotta see Xanadu every night, dude.
Dude, I mean, there's a double neck. We're gonna need someone to handle that other neck.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Your guitar tech is good, but he's gonna need some help, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I was going to ask you, because even though there has been a big time slowdown, or I guess a screeching halt to their music industry, Larry, you were able to secure a deal with Gibson, I guess, and there was a big announcement not too far back. So what was all that about?
It was weird. It's like my thing with Gibson has been so weird over the years because, the first time I decided to get a Gibson, I was playing with Serge Tonke and his band. I was like, I want to get a white SG Custom, but the SG Customs only had 3 pickups in them. And I hated playing them. Like I'd go to the store and there was only vintage ones. They didn't make new ones. So if you wanted an SG Custom, you had to have a third pickup. And I would always hit with the picks. I'm like, I can't play these. I'm going to go and see if there's like a contact on the Gibson website and see if they can make me one custom. It's kind of just out of the blue. Like I'm sure they would say no or whatever. So I fire up Gibson.com and the first thing that pops up is this exact guitar that I was going to ask them about. And they were like, they were making this guitar that I was going to ask if they could make one off of. So I got a hold of that guitar. And then the second Gibson I got was I was just sitting around in LA. I think we were downtime. And I was looking to cover a Zappa's Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. I was like, I want to try to find the guitar like his Les Paul, like the same colors, everything. And I walked to True Tone in Santa Monica. They had one sitting there exactly like it. Wow. So there's been all this kind of meant to be stuff with Gibson. And then I'm assuming that talked to either Dan or Brock over there at Gibson.
Oh, Dan, yeah.
They were in the custom shop. And, I kept hearing from Les and Tim, they sort of got a hold of them somehow through like the winery or through the cider or something. And said, they want to hook you up with guitars. And I was kind of like, that doesn't sound right. Really? They're just I don't have to call them. They're going to call me. That doesn't sound right.
And so the first thing you asked for was the double neck Alex Lifeson.
I'm like, a double neck,
SG.
4-neck. You guys make one of those Cheap Trick guitars?
Yes, the 5-necker.
So those, I ended up hooking up with those guys, and they were kind of like, they were stoked to do some stuff for me, and they've been awesome. I mean, Gibson's a pretty rad company as far as just where
totally
all the people working there.
I don't know who is the main A&R guy there now. I don't even know. It used to be Jimmy Archie. He doesn't.
I don't know how anything works. I just know that I talked to a bunch of dudes and they're all cool and
yeah.
A couple really cool guitars.
Yeah, it looks like you have quite an arsenal coming your way for this Rush tour and I guess beyond. Was the decision to pursue those Gibsons Rush tour related? I guess it didn't sound like that the way you were talking.
That was another thing. That's why I was saying at Gibson, it's always kind of weird how these things just kind of happen with them. I just started talking to those guys, and they were like, "Hey, actually, I was getting ready to do this thing with Dean Del Rey, which was AC/DC's like cover thing that he does every year."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, this is a great excuse to get an SG." And I've been watching all the Zappa stuff. I'm like, "I'm going to get an SG," And so I talked to Gibbs, our management, and he was like, "Oh, I want to see if I can talk to someone and see what they can do." And then like the day before this guitar shows up. It was so killer.
That's right.
So just all these kind of little things that trickled in with Gibson. And then, of course, the Rush stuff is super Gibson heavy. And
right on.
So I started actually, before I met those guys, I started the fun part about this Rush thing is kind of collecting all the gear, the guitars. It's all stuff I don't have, which is cool.
So is the white 355 the only one you've ever had of a 355?
Yeah, it's like, it was so hard to find a white 355.
Well, no, they never made them. That's a repaint on his.
Oh, really?
If you see the old Rush, like Fly By Night era, and a little bit later, it's like a tobacco, like a yellow.
That's a guitar.
It's a weird, nope. It's a yellow, weird sunburst. I've talked to the techs on Rush, and I talked to Skip Gildersleeve.
Okay.
I talked to him, and he's like, "Oh, it was a repaint." Alex had me send that out and had a dude.
Really?
Yep.
Well, dude, I should have talked to you a long time ago because I've been trying to find one forever. I couldn't find one, and then finally, it was like they had made like a reissue at one point, but it's different. It was kind of different than the Alex one. But then I sent it, the guys at Custom Shop, like totally fixed it up and made it into a rad 355. So yeah,
the one that you have is killer. I was looking at that stream show that you guys did. I helped out.
Well, that's after they took it apart and put it back together and made it.
I'm just saying it was awesome, dude. It looked great,
Yeah, cool. Those guitars on the Pachyderm Station performance looked and sounded fantastic. And of course, Frankie and I watched and over and over.
Wait, how many times did you watch it, Frankie?
I'm like through my fourth or fifth run, and
right
on.
I'll get around to a second viewing one of these days.
Yeah, Ler's Guitar Quiver was awesome at that gig, man. That's the first time I saw all those Gibsons lined up. It was cool, man.
I kind of went a little overboard for that one, but I was like, we hadn't played in a while. It's a video shoot.
Yeah,
that's not the guitar.
Yeah. Well,
that's right.
Many years ago on the old Late Show with David Letterman, he said something that stuck with me for all these years. And he said, if there's anything better than a good thing, it's overdoing a good thing. So I was like, yes.
Let's not talk about those penguin suits.
I like that. Then I'm going to stick with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yours. I didn't say it, so you can have it. I asked about the guitars right off the bat because I'm always curious because every time I read an article about so-and-so moving guitar companies or getting a new endorsement, they say one of three things. I'm exploring possibilities, the guitar player says. I'm chasing a certain sound or style, and this company has it. But they never say they gave me a burlap sack full of cash, But I know that's part of it. But I'm curious, like, for what it sounded like you were chasing a sound to a degree here.
Yeah, because I'm kind of the same as you. I never know how these things work too, and I always assume like, oh, people are with this company. Are they getting? I'm more of a fan when it comes to stuff as far as understanding how this works because I've never really signed with anybody or had some kind of official deal or anything. And I mean, the lineage of the guitars was kind of. I started with the Strats just because that's what I had, and it was trying to, it was all modded out to go, do all the tricks and whatever you could do with it.
Yeah,
Floyd Rose and stuff, and I only had could only really bring one guitar, maybe a backup guitar.
You still have that? Do you still have the white Strat from Suck on This era?
Yeah, I sanded it down at one point because I was watching Baby Snakes and Adrian Belew was playing that one that was like all burnt up and stuff. So one day I was like, I have the sandpaper and I sanded it all down and tried to copy his. So.
That was your only guitar when you joined Primus.
Yeah.
I don't remember you having a backup guitar.
No, there wasn't.
That's all we had.
We had to
change the strings.
Yeah, at some point because it would break so many strings because I was a guitar tech.
Oh yeah.
So I'm terrible at being a guitar tech.
I had to take care of Les and Tim, so that's when Leroy stepped in for a minute there.
That's right. Leroy was the tech.
Is that the guitar that Alex Lifeson held in his hand and said, "How do you do this?" Or I don't know how you can play this one.
He was like, "How do you play this thing?" Because the strings were so high off the neck. And like I said, I was a tech, so I don't really know. I just kind of assumed, well, if I lower this, move this here, it was a mess. And then I had the same thing. Like Kirk Hammett was like, "You play this guitar on stage?" I'm like, "Yeah." And plus, I had raised it a little bit at some point because I was trying to play slide at a lot of stuff, and I just assumed that if I raised it up, it'd be better. There was so many probably backwards ideas of how that guitar got the way it was.
Man, because you went to Ibanez for 1 second before you went to PRS, I remember, and you had the raw wood Ibanez's. You had 2 of them or something.
I was jealous of Les had cool basses with Carl Thompson. I wanted some custom kind of cool wood, so. Ibanez said they would make me a walnut. His bass is a walnut. I'm like, I want a walnut guitar. So they made me a couple things, and they didn't really work out in the long run. But
where are those 2 guitars?
Well, one of them got stolen at the Phoenix Theater at the photo shoot.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
It was a 2-day shoot, so it was like left overnight. And overnight,
bummer.
somebody stole one of them. Whatever. And I think Mark Clark's got the one that's in the video.
Okay.
The scary video.
I've never seen those guitars in storage since the old days.
Yeah, there was 3 of them. Yeah, one got stolen. He's got that. The other one's around. I saw it at Les's house.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, I might have it in the corner. Now. I don't know. Things are floating around.
I found so many things in the corners and closets at Les's house that were yours and Tim's in the last couple of years. It's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
So it sounds
Bring stuff up and leave.
Yeah, it sounds like, Larry, you don't actually know how many guitars you have at this point. They're all over, huh?
No, but I've been recently having to get all my stuff in storage and stuff, and I figure it out. And there's a lot. There's too many.
Larry,
all right.
Can I ask you about I Want It Now? Because it's really amazing to have your lead vocals on a Primus album. But what is really amazing is that I guess it started as a one-off for New Year's Eve. And then when they recorded the album, you realized that you were going to have to sing that night after night during the tour. So what was it like for you doing lead vocals for Primus?
It was pretty nerve-wracking. Because
it was my favorite part of the whole night. Every night.
I mean,
I was on beer 3, dude. Are you kidding? I was over there getting the Oompa costume going on beer 3.
You were there when we recorded that song when I had to do the vocals, right?
No, I actually got the drums and all your guys' gear up there and got everything set up. And then Mills was the only one that was there for the recording. Les said, "We don't need you up here. We got it."
Yeah,
I think I came up a couple times bringing more stuff or hung out for a second here and there, and we went and had foods and stuff. But yeah, I missed it. I've never seen any of you guys sing anything. Les won't let anybody near him when he's singing.
Right. Well,
on to tape.
Everyone was there when everyone was.
What's that?
When I was singing, I feel like there's a lot of people there.
That's funny because Les would always I'd walk in and he'd be singing a line and he'd stop, take the mic down, and go, "Okay, all right, okay, let's move on." And I'm like, "Wait, what? You're singing? Come on, let me check it out." He's like, "Nope." It's like, all right, whatever, dude.
I think you have enough cachet at this point, Larry. You could have kicked everybody out.
Yeah, I didn't care. I was kind of going. It was one of those things where I didn't really care. It was I think there might have been.
Where were you standing when you sang it? Was it in the pool table room or was it in the studio?
In the studio.
Just standing there.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, all right, let's just go for it and see what happens. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen when you erase it?
Mm-hmm. Did you have pantyhose hanging?
Don't think I rocked the mic with the pantyhose.
All right, cool. Then you're legit.
Could be wrong,
you're a singer. You're a singer.
I will tell you that night, that New Year's Eve 2013, I was at the show, ended up on Les's side, which is weird because I usually go for your side just because I like watching you play guitar and I love watching guitar players. But ended up more on Les's side. The song starts. And, you can follow the pattern, and here come the vocals. And Les is nowhere near the microphone, and I hear this voice. And I swing my head around. Larry's singing? That was quite a surprise. I'm sure for thousands of people in the audience, but certainly for me. So that was a really nice surprise, and it was a lot of fun to experience that the first time you got to do it live, man.
Well, I'm glad you were there to see.
Ler, if you remember, we were in rehearsals at Prairie Sun, and that was Les's grand idea. With, all right, Ler, you're going to sing this one, and we were like, no way, there's no way. And you're like, come on, man. And he's like, nope.
Just hearing it right now, it sounds like a terrible idea.
He's all, nope, you're singing it, Ler. This is your song. This is your moment. You're getting it. It was like, oh man, this is going to be hilarious. And dude, it really was one of my favorite moments of the entire Wonka show, dude. It really, because it was just so unique, you know, it's never been done before like that, where you were the actual lead vocalist on an entire song.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a cover tune, but it doesn't matter. It was awesome, you know?
Yeah, it was, I had to do it.
It was you've recorded so many albums and been on so many tours, and then all of a sudden you're front and center for vocals. So considering you've done so much work at that point, I mean, do you recall any nerves at all? You ended up performing it 172 times or something, but do you recall any nerves on that first night having to do vocals that way?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a little anxiety that goes for it, but you know, there's no getting around it. It's coming, so you got to just do it, and you try to make the best of it. Some people, you know, you might have someone in a band that's unexpected, and they sing a song, you're like, oh, he's got a good voice. Where I kind of, you know, I was like, well, it's not like all of a sudden there's going to be angels singing over there, so I do.
Yeah. Well, dude, you got to understand it. Like at that point, what year was that? We did that 2014.
2015.
At that point, Primus has been around for a long time, and nothing like that had ever happened. So every single night, the magic was in the air because the word got out that Ler's going to sing a song. You know, and like I'm saying, I felt it. It was really cool.
That's good to hear. I feel better about it now.
Yeah, and you know, you would look at me just singing, and in between, look over at me, just be like, "Hey,
I can say whatever I want right now. Watch this."
It was awesome, dude. Super awesome. Thank you for that. That was great.
Yeah. And Larry, I gotta say that the guitars you used for that tour were stunning. They looked really, really beautiful.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, Fender's, the guys who built those guitars, they did an amazing job. They turned out even better than I thought they were going to turn out. So we were talking about it. You know, I kind of got a lesson in how hard it is to do some of this stuff. And they, you know, the paint, it takes a long time for all the paints and to get the different colors and to get a guy to paint the pickguard. And so a lot of people sort of stepped up and did some big favors on that one. So definitely.
Yeah. That quiver was great. All those tellies were killer as well. The thin line, and you had maybe you didn't have a thin line, but you had the killer banded ones.
Yeah, there was because at one point I was out at the Fender shop, and I wanted them to recreate up the 76 Strat that has this like gold flake green.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it recreated, and they were like, oh, I just couldn't find that color. And we were walking out, and there was like, they on Jackson too. So there was a Jackson on the wall. I'm like, what about this color? They're like, yeah, we could do that. And they're like, well, since they got the can of paint out, we'll do a telly too. And that telly turned out to be a really great guitar.
Yep. All those sounded great. You know, it was good.
Yeah.
And the purple and orange combo flip-flop Strats was awesome.
Great. Yeah.
Super awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of guitar gods out there in the factory world that have been very kind to me.
That's great.
I'm curious if we can kind of go back in time. We don't have to go chronologically or anything, but it would be kind of cool to go back from, you know, we were talking all these guitars. It'd be really great to kind of go back to your first one and kind of your first guitar experiences, because there aren't that many interviews out there with solely you. And I'm trying to rack my brain, and I can't think of an interview where we kind of got the macro lens kind of on your guitar career. So do you remember your first guitar that you picked up and how you were influenced to do so?
Yeah, actually it was, I was in junior high school, and a friend of mine was like, hey, this Friday we're going to a concert. We're going to see Rush. Uh-huh. Like I didn't even know what a concert was. I definitely didn't know what Rush was. I was like, all right.
Yep.
So we went, it was a moving pictures tour, and we went in, no idea what anything was going to go. It's exciting. There's people everywhere. Everyone's partying. Don't really know what that is, but there's a lot of people. And so we go in, it's arena's full smoke. The lights go out and the opening band comes on. I'm like, is this Rush? Like, no. So they played however long that ended, and then the lights came up and it was even more smoke. And it was like, this was crazy times. And people are just drinking, just bottles of booze in the arena and stuff. And so, Rush played, and then it was insane. It was amazing, that moving pictures tour. There's actually, I think some of those videos you see of the shows were from that show because they were filming it.
Oh, wow.
Yep. They had the killer video wall and the lasers and the whole thing.
So the next day I was just like, holy shit, that was rad. And I was like, I kind of like to be one of those dudes up there on the stage, though. That was cool. So the next weekend was Van Halen, where he's like, okay, next weekend.
Oh, good Lord.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was just fucking, I mean, the day after that, I was like, Mom, I need a guitar. So, and I went and got, it was like a Les Paul Junior, the weird double cut sort of, but it wasn't, it was a Hondo.
Okay.
Maybe even a Hondo 2.
That's awesome. Got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Gosh, what better 1-2 punch than Rush and Van Halen in, what is that, 82 or so to
81.
81 to get that.
Yep.
Wow, to influence you. Because I always think when I was in middle school, up until my friend Graham handed me a bunch of tapes with Helmet, Alice in Chains, Primus, a whole bunch of bands on them. All I really knew was what my parents played, which was Chuck Mangione, Dan Fogelberg. I could, some Billy Joel, but then the Beatles. There would be some Beatles, but it was only when we were cleaning. So I didn't really like the Beatles because I had to clean when they played them. But
oh man!
So for you to witness Rush and Van Halen on consecutive weekends, for crying out loud, do you remember what you were listening to before that? Was music even on your radar?
No, I think before that it was the same thing. It was like whatever your parents were listening to,
what was on KFRC or on the radio.
Yeah, what was ever just on. So it was, there's probably Michael Jackson. I think I did have some like 45s of like Elton John. Just weird stuff that you got at the. Who even knows? I know at one point I had an 8-track of Kiss Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah,
I just had it because all the older kids had it. And I was like, I want that.
Ler, I will totally confess, like we were into disco because we didn't know any better, and then we discovered Kiss but wait, what? This is rad. There's fire and like blood on the cover.
Oh yeah, it's got everything you need.
Like, what's disco? What? We didn't know any better till we got into our older brother's record collections and found, Kiss and Rush and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, and that Foreigner, this. Right. Me and Nancy were listening to Foreigner the other day, and it was like, this was heavy when I was like a kid, and it's like this is the wussiest stuff ever.
Well, I'm trying to remember. It must have been before that. I did do the one in TV Guide where you taped a nickel to it.
Oh, of course.
Like 10 records, and then
my mom had to buy 200 cassette tapes because me and my brother kept taping the penny and picking stuff, and it just show up, dude.
Oh man, what a good!
She was so pissed every time. This guy, stop doing this, goddamn it! But it was like free postage. Tape a penny and put it in the mailbox. All of a sudden, a box of cassettes showed up.
No idea what they are. You just pick them because they look cool. So obviously Kiss is going to be on there.
Yeah, and you're a kid. You don't know what a bill is. You're just like, what? I just got 10 cassettes.
Why even pay that?
Mom, it's only like $13.99 for 4 more cassettes. What? Yeah. Okay, I want the Who on this next one. All right, cool.
Yeah, the idea that someone would show up in the mail was pretty amazing back then. Anyway, this is a lot of old guy talk here. And then the postman would show up and hand you the plastic shiny record.
That's right, and the milk and everything else at that point. So you get this guitar and you're starting to play. It sounds like your parents were pretty supportive because they hand you a guitar, and everybody always asks you about lessons with Satriani and all that, but I'm really curious about your path to, of course, Primus, which is what you're most known for. You're coming up as a middle schooler learning guitar, you get into high school, there's the Possessed thing, there's Blind Illusion, and the one that always gets overlooked to me is probably Soya's favorite, which is the Corrupted Morals thing, and I don't know much about that. So can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, that probably came from, it started off, because I started taking lessons from actually a great guitar teacher, this guy, George Cole, who was taking lessons from Satriani, I guess. That's kind of the way it worked in the Bay Area. Everyone had their guitar teacher locally. Then all the guitar teachers took lessons from Joe.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's funny because I went in for the lesson, and this guy was Fiataroni Music. This guy, Fiataroni, that owned the place, I'm signing up for lessons. He's like, well, yeah, what you got to do is you got to get him singing. That's how they're going to get famous. And my mom, he's trying to sell us on singing lessons. But he's like, yeah, we got this kid, Billy Joe.
Trying to sell you a mic. Yeah.
He's going to be famous. Billy Joe. It's Billy Joe from Green Day. He's like,
yeah.
We're like, yeah, mom's like, yeah, whatever. We're not signing up for singing lessons too. So, so that turned into, you make your own band, with the guys. So the first band was like me and Jeff Becerra, who was Possessed, and Mike Miner, who was in Blind Illusion, and then couple of different singers until we ended up with a friend of ours, Matt Wheeler, who was like our light guy for a long time. Okay. So then that band, splintered into what was it? It was Jeff went into Possessed, and then Mike Miner went into Blind Illusion, And I was kind of we were kind of keeping this band. Blizzard, we had kind of people in and out. And then eventually I ended up in Possessed. Then Possessed kind of, when the metal got, started floating, when it started being DRI and more punk and stuff. And I was really into Dead Kennedys. All my friends were hanging out at Gilman Street. They were actually building Gilman Street. Like, the singer for Corrupt Immortals, I think, was putting the toilets in there.
Oh, wow.
So I started hanging around that scene. And that scene was, by that time, metal was such a short time. And when we were doing Possessed, there was like no one listened to those bands because there was only 4 bands. It was, there was Venom, Slayer was brand new. They had like 1 or 2 records, Motorhead. And, you'd go to like Record Ball where I'd see Soya.
Yeah, that's right.
They're in Soya Record
We'd
Ball.
be shopping for metal records and running into each other all the time over there.
No one was listening to metal because we were it. That was the metal bands. So, Exodus. It was so new. But
it was such a tiny circle, I mean,
it was it.
It was awesome.
Go to the mall and buy a metal record. But at any rate, when it ended up being Corrupt Immortals, it was when it was kind of like, the metal had kind of run its course as far as, what you could do with
it. Well, dude, it's like, that's the same thing happened to me, Ler. That's how I got into Victims Family and No Means No and bands like that, and
right.
Corrupt Immortals. The metal went like mainstream, and it's like, okay, all the Chets and meatheads at my high school that punked me in the head as I walked down the hall wearing a Metallica shirt, all of a sudden had Master of Puppets t-shirts on and were trying to be my friend. And it was like, fuck you.
Yeah. And I think that happens with all this.
See you later.
That's what happened with the
punks. And I just took a right turn. That's when I met the Victims Family dudes or like really started hanging with them. And they're like, you ever heard the Minutemen? You ever heard No Means No? You ever heard, I was like, whoa, this is rad, dude. Okay. Forget about metal. And then the Hairball came out. It was like, oh, good Lord. We ran as far as we could from that shit, Yeah. But, when you got in Primus, Corrupted Morals, you were still doing it, and I was just talking about that skate show that we did in Reno that one time.
Oh, yeah.
Where Les fainted when the dude came out the door with a broken arm. Remember that?
Well, it happened right in front of him. He was kind of a little kid. He was, it was a vert ramp. He came down and you could hear it crack, snap in half, and the kid's wrist in half.
Dude, remember that night? That was Corrupted Morals opened that show for Primus. That was right when you and Herb just got in Primus. It was one of the first couple months, and that was a hilarious scene that night.
Yeah.
Welcome to the band. This is what happens.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
Larry, what was it like for you to see the Athens, Georgia poster that emulated Possessed?
Oh, yeah, that was...
That was awesome. I wish I was on that tour. I want that shirt. I want that poster. I got none of it, man.
Yeah. Well, at first I'm kind of like, I don't know. Is this cool or is this not cool? And I was like, I guess it's cool.
That was hilarious, dude. That was incredibly hilarious.
That was a great riff. Yeah, I enjoyed that poster.
So Jose in Corrupted Morals, what did he play? Guitar or bass?
Drums.
He was the drummer. Okay, right. I couldn't remember what Jose. So Josh and Frankie, you might not know this, but in the beginning of the Jerry Was a Race Car video, when Les says, "Fired up, boy," and
he's in the car.
Out,
yeah.
That's Jose.
Yeah.
Wow.
And his car. That's Jose's car.
Actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Matt Weiniger said his name, so I recognize it.
Me and Matt kind of touched on it, but yeah. That's who's in that. That's Jose from Corrupted Morals.
Cool.
That was his car. That thing was...
And Jose is the one that was there for the Red 22 incident.
Wait, what was that?
Come on, man.
Trying to remember.
So we were all hanging out after that skate show, and we were at that little shitty motel, right? We had a couple rooms. Corrupted Morals had a room, and we had a room, me and Les and you and Tim. I slept on the floor. But the big plan was to take mushrooms and go down to downtown Reno and trip out and go,
and put it on Red 22.
And so Les is like, dude, I'm fucked up. I hit my head. Show's over. I'm just going to hang here. And I was like, I'll hang with you, Les. It's cool. I got a 6-pack of beer. He's like, all right, everybody put some money together. And let's give it to Jose. He'll go down and put it on the roulette table. Okay. So we pulled together. We all pulled like $5 or $3 out of our pockets because none of us had any money. Right. And we got like whatever, 30, 40 bucks together out of the 10 of us. And it was like, all right, Jose, here's the $30. He goes, well, what number am I putting on, Les? He goes, Red 22. And so he's like, okay, cool. And he takes off. And the next morning when we all woke up to leave, we're like, Jose, where's our cash, man? Come on. And he's like, dude, number one, 22 is black on a roulette table. So I put it on black 22 and we lost.
So if you know the Red 22 and there not being a Red 22, but I don't remember.
Yeah. So the catalog number of Suck on This is Prawn Song Records Red 22.
Yep.
From that night. From that day.
Awesome.
I never knew the story behind that Red 22. That's excellent.
That's the Red 22 story.
Either.
You were there. Didn't even know the story.
Yeah, so you touched on Blizzard, Possessed, Blind Illusion, Corrupted Morals. Is there anything we're missing? You don't have to cop to anything you don't want to, but before you get into Primus, I think those are the big ones, right? The big stops for you?
That's it. That's it.
Wow, so then that happens, and a few weeks into it, you guys are recording Stuck on This, and you guys are taking off. I'm so curious about this, because Soya, you were there too, so you were hearing these guys play. Live all this time. Larry, for you, did it just feel like you guys, the three of you, Tim, and Les, it just seems like you guys just gelled day one?
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, I was, before I was in the band, I was hanging out with the band a lot. So I was hanging out at the shows, and me and Adam Gates would be like, we're the light guys. We go and that was our job. That's how we got into the show. Hey, we're the light guys.
At the Omni.
Yeah. The Omni,
you and Adam would be up there flashing the lights like in the wrong time on purpose. I remember.
Yeah, I don't know. We just hit the button.
And Les would go, hey, who the hell's doing lights up there, goddammit? And Adam would be like, on, off, on, off, on, off. I was like, dude. So
yeah,
funny.
I mean, it's hard for me to really know how fast it came together, because I was kind of like, I think I got in the band just because when Todd was not going to do it anymore, it was like I was just there already. Les like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. Like, you want to think about it? Nah, I'm good. I'm here anyway.
I think it totally like it came together amazingly, but at the same time there was such an urgency of like it has to come together because that Primus snowball was rolling down the hill. They were he's selling out the Omni at that point, Yeah,
Les said he goes, okay, so what you after you asked if I wanted to be in the band, I was like, yeah, and then I don't know if that was right then or later, but he called me. He's like, okay, well, I got some other news. Jay's quitting the band. I was like, okay, what are we going to do? But so then we auditioned a bunch of drummers. And
man, I was there for some of that. Remember the dudes that answered and showed up, dude with the mustache at the San Pablo rehearsal space with the big ramp to get down in there. And the dude shows up with the handlebar mustache and his like funky Rogers drum kit and wants to play like Grand Funk Railroad. And Les is like, all right, dude, let's just jam a couple tunes. I don't really remember too much of that because it was such a whirlwind. I was kind of like barely remember, but then Herb showed up for his first one and I helped him unload his drums out of his little car that he borrowed from somebody because he had just moved to the Bay Area. And all of his drum stands were in like Goodwill golf club bags.
That I kind of remember.
I was like, whoa, dude. He's like, come on, man, you got to put them on your shoulder. You can put one on each shoulder and get him into the rehearsal room. I was like, okay, cool, dude.
That's
all right, let's go.
Plan.
Not that Primus had any better equipment that he was coming into. Les had one bass and you had your one guitar.
Yeah, you might want to hang on to those bags, the golf bags.
Ler, you said at some point that Primus music videos are the best videos ever made. And that was back in 2003 for the promotion of Animals Should Not Try to Act Like People. You guys have done several more videos after that. So at this point, what is your favorite Primus video and why?
I mean, the John the Fisherman video is definitely one of my favorites just because it was the first video we ever made. It was like, are we going to actually be a real, are we going into that world where you have a video and they show it on TV and stuff? So
yeah.
That whole thing was super fun. It was, because the way we did it was kind of like, well, we're just going to do it. We're going to go on the boat. We're just going to do it. And then, the guy who did the animation for it was like, people just all chipped in and made this really rad thing. So it was, it's exciting because I've never seen anything come together like that.
It was trippy. It was a great time, man. And you guys were on the cover of BAM for the first time right then.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that were kind of like, they were just happening. We're like, are we a real band now? Are we?
It was cool, man. It was definitely a rad time to be around you guys,
You guys really had some momentum going. And you mentioned succeeding Todd. And, how, first of all, John the Fisherman is one of his tunes. I guess I have a two-pronged question here because I don't know that Todd gets enough recognition for his work and his effort. And most people don't know who he is. And I friggin' love him as a guitarist. What was it like succeeding him and then learning his parts? Because when we listen back to those demos, the sausage demo and whatnot, we go, wow, what is this guy doing? So I don't know if you had the same reaction.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, when I first heard Primus, I didn't really even, the tape was probably not the greatest quality tape either, or who knows where you're listening to it on. It wasn't a record. You're playing a record player, but I didn't really even know what was going on as far as musically. So eventually I did have to pick it apart and figure it out. And, I think Todd even showed me some of the parts. And
That's cool.
I mean, because when I got in the band, my whole world was like Frank Zappa, Dead Kennedys, the King Crimson, the Fripp, Blue kind of thing.
The League of Crafty Guitarists.
Yeah, it was. So when I got in, I was like I think all the bands I was in up till then, I was trying to figure out how do I kind of make that happen. So when I ended up in Primus, I was like, oh, this is like the perfect chance to like make those kind of things happen,
I mean, you totally did though. I mean,
yeah. So then, I mean, and Todd was like, he was one of those guys that was writing the kind of stuff that I wish I was writing, like, oh yeah, this. So it's weird how it all came together because it was like, it was perfect for me. And, Todd was super helpful in me learning those parts and seeing how he did it. And
that's cool. Like the guitar player for Les Special, which is reoccurring guests, the band guys that are big fans, and they did the Frizzle Fry in its entirety a month ago or whatever.
Oh yeah. Did you get a chance to watch that, Larry?
Now people were telling me about it, but I haven't.
Man, it's incredible.
I should go.
The drummer does Herb spot on and sings Les spot on at the same time. It's like actually more impressive than Les singing and playing Les bass parts.
So you say I can go watch people play stuff. My part's probably better than I play.
No.
Anyway, speaking about Todd, for the recording of Pork Soda, Welcome to This World turns out to be, an early Primus number. So I was wondering if, before you recorded the studio version for Pork Soda, did you refer back to the demo with Todd Huth on it, or did you create your guitar part from scratch?
I didn't, because I don't know I had any way to hear that version, but I do remember Todd having some super cool guitar part for that.
Yeah.
Because, you're right. I mean, people don't really, Todd's such an innovative guitar player, and that stuff is there's nothing else like it. It's so cool. People should check that out.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of people haven't heard, or some people have, there is that tape with Curveball on drums where the song is It Luck? And Todd,
I remember this. I got to go back and listen to those. Actually, I probably shouldn't.
He plays. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you didn't do as good as him. I'm just saying it was so different. You did what you did because what he did was you'd never even heard it, maybe. And I'm just trying to say Todd was amazing, and that you followed his footsteps and took those shoes on and ran with them and became who you are in Primus is amazing, because at that time when in 1988, you just thought, okay, that this is the three dudes, Jay, Todd, Les. There's nothing's this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys just all of a sudden, boom, the door closed, the door reopened, and here's you and Tim. And it was like, oh, well, here's Primus again. Okay, it's still great. It's like something different though, and it was in a good way. I'm not saying in a bad way. Just then it became what it is now, up to now. It's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely remember because when those songs came back around, I remember there being other versions of them and thinking like, oh, I remember them having cool guitar parts, but I don't know that I ever.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably being lazy and not being able to track down what those things were, or just being. Or
you just did your own thing.
Probably come up with my own part. Yeah,
which is fine. And I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say is it's fine. You did your own part, even though a lot of people might. Obviously, when Is It Luck came out in the old days, there was like 10 people at a Primus show, if that. So nobody went, oh, you didn't play it. Ler didn't play it like Todd did. It's like Ler played what he played, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. It really got I should ask, 30 years in, I think you've nailed those parts by now, right? You feel good about them?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back and listen to his though, because then I'll probably be like, damn it.
Every once in a while, you hit the top of the headstock on Pudding Time, and I look at you and go, nope, didn't get it, dude.
You got to have the right guitar for that. That's a very specific.
It'd be a Telly. With the Cheeto sticker on the headstock.
Well, that's fascinating to hear you say that, Soya, actually, because it really is a distinct sound, and it sounds different almost every show. Wait, I kind of asked you earlier about this, Larry, but that chasing a sound idea, your guitar sound's changed a lot over the years. I'm curious how conscious you are of that as you go through different setups, Marshalls, orange amps, and all these different things, because there's so many variables. It just seems like, oh, Larry's got a new setup, In my head, I'm just picture you saying, I want to do that now. I don't know if there's any more thinking to it than that. But
sometimes there is. Sometimes you have an idea of what you want to try, or like whatever amps or something, or obviously there was forever, it's like trying to find pedals, like vintage pedals and weird things that made weird sounds and stuff. Because a lot of times, like, you can take a song that's nothing and just make, like, if you take like any pop song, if you were to take like one of the guitars and put like some crazy effect on it or something, it might be like a super interesting song now. So I think a lot of times you can take something that's just normal and put it through some crazy something. Adrian Belew, if you probably took some of those things off, it might sound just, kind of normal to some extent. I mean, it's still Adrian Belew, but
it's like the Edge actually only plays quarter notes on every U2 song, but it sounds like he's playing 30-second notes.
Yeah, it kind of builds a symphony out of it, but no, but I mean, the funny thing is, it's like the Orange, the way that came about was we were in Europe and we were doing some tour and they had 3 different heads, they had a Marshall and an Orange and something else. And like, we played them all, and the Orange smoked all the other ones. So then when we got back to the States, it was time to put together another rig. I was like, hey, let's see what, let's see who's interested. And like Orange, I think we reached out to a couple companies and Orange was super excited. And my friend Alex that worked there, well, become my friend, he hooked me up with a bunch of gear. And it was like, so ever since then, I just went with Orange. Something like that. That's how that came about.
That's great. The Orange stuff is great, man. I mean, Sleep kind of brought that back, I think.
Right.
Right.
I saw the ads and I kind of equated with that because you'd see them in the magazines.
Did you ever see those guys live?
No.
Man, we saw them a couple times. Victim's Family might have actually played with them a couple times, or they opened for us. But they had the stacks of Orange amps. And we're like, whoa, that's still a company? I thought that was in the 60s when Black Sabbath was a band. And it was like they kind of made this resurgence, and then all of a sudden you were playing and it was like, oh, this stuff sounds great, man. It's killer stuff. It's no fun hauling one of those 412s up a staircase, but they weigh like 200 pounds, man.
Yeah, no, those are heavy cabs. I'm not using those.
Yeah. Loosely in this timeline that we're creating, Primus gets going in 89 and 90, and that decade of the 90s for yourself and for Primus was incredibly productive. I remember reading interviews with you guys because that's what I did as a teenager, just like
I did a version of that too. I'm sure, but whatever.
Yeah.
Circus Mag, dude, Hit Prater. Come on now.
But mine was that special little time period where it would be 11 o'clock at night and I'd sneak down to the computer and have to cover the modem with a pillow because it's and I didn't want to wake up my dad because I'd get in trouble, and I'd be like, I'm going to read some Primus articles. But gosh, at some point in your interviews, you guys were saying, we really like that record an album tour, that cycle. And I'm sure it was pretty exciting in 90, 91, 92, and onward as you guys were going. At some point, do you think of the 90s, did that cycle wear you down at all? I think you have 9 releases in the 90s, and I'm counting the enhanced CD because that was a creative endeavor. Did you ever feel burnout at all throughout that process? Or that decade, man? Whew.
I mean, you would definitely get to a point where sometimes you'd be on the tour for a long time and you'd kind of want to just be, you want to go home and do some normal stuff at some point. Mm-hmm. And then, a month out, you're at home for a month and you can't wait to get back out. And of course, I'm sure everyone has the same story.
Right.
I remember at one point after probably like 8 years or something, I would, I'd be watching like basketball and I'd be like, wow, these guys, they know where they're going to be. Like, they have a schedule for the next 6 or 8 months. I go, I wish I could do something like that. Sounds awesome because a lot of things we would do would come up. So it'd be like, hey, you want to go on tour with U2 in 2 months or
right. You thought you were going to be home for 2 months. Oh wait, Rush called. Oh wait, U2 called. Oh wait.
Or you think you were at the end of a cycle, or you never know. Just that was the only pretty, part that was a little rough. Is just not knowing what, you couldn't make plans. You hear everybody else making normal plans and you'd be like, well, I don't know where I'm going to be then.
Yeah.
That was the only part for me that was maybe a little bit of,
So it sounded like having that structure was this is my teacher voice coming out. I'm sorry. You don't need to hear this. But no, it does sound like that structure was important for you, maybe to a degree, at least knowing what was coming, having that predictability of a sort.
It seemed like it would be a good idea. I didn't really know because I never had it, but it started to sound like, something that would be nice. But that's why, I think some of the times when Les was doing solo stuff, I was like, oh, this is great. I know those 2 months I won't be doing anything. Now that's the lazy side of me coming out.
Larry, what was it like for you working with Les on the illustrations for the Punch Bowl album?
I mean, we just so we could have a place to hang out, we started this Prawn Song graphics company. It was basically the upstairs of our rehearsal space. We built it and we kind of had this idea that we're going to I don't know what we were thinking we were going to do with it. It was going to be a graphics company, and
Yeah.
it was me and him and Adam Gates, and I think Zoltron was in there for a while too. And we had all these computers set up, and they were all linked together. It was stuff that, I mean, you guys have probably all been at that point with the computers, but back then the idea of what it was, you would just be like, this is so dumb. And it was like as good as it could get, Ethernet cables together, the slowest computers in the world. And Adam was kind of tied in with Kai Kraus from Kai's Power Tools, and he invented Bryce, which was the software so we had all these beta versions of Bryce that were crashing and barely working. We get updates from him, and it was, to some extent, I'm sure it was pretty nerdy for the guys who were like the least like nerdy guys. It was like art guys with nerd gear. And I mean, it'd be funny because ultimately, like, people would come in and we'd just be playing Doom, just killing each other with shotguns. Like, dude, every computer had a full-on sound system. So
I will not
all
lie.
they would hear was like machine guns and shotguns up in this room. And they're like, what the hell's going up there? And we're just like, so,
if you remember, I was like downstairs in the rehearsal room and in the warehouse trying to get the gear ready and do shit. And all I could hear was, and all of a sudden it'd be like, fuck, bong. You have to reset everything.
Yeah.
Like all the computers on the speakers that go, that Apple reset. Dum. I was like, and you guys would be all fuck. And Adam would run out and smoke a cigarette. It was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, that crystallizes pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
You guys were doing all that art stuff. It was kind of fun because it was just like, all of a sudden we're doing 3D art. We don't even know what we're doing. It's kind of coming out. And I mean, having a scanner was a big, I remember when we first got a scanner and the first thing we scanned was a Freak Brothers comic, and that became the first laminate we ever had. We made our own laminate. We're like, dude, we just made our own thing. This is crazy.
Yeah. I remember we talked about this on a previous episode, but when we did the Punch Bowl record, remember that's when you really were like going full forward on, got to get laptops. Come on, Les, come on. We're going to do the art. And like, you were kind of the dude that pushed that forward, and then Les went full into it. And we had Mac Warehouse and Compu something, those every 2 weeks a Mac would come out and it'd be like, okay, the new Mac laptop has got 6 megabytes of RAM, not just 4. And it was like, whoa. And it's like $800 more to upgrade. But wait, I just got this one. Wait, they're upgrading them? And you guys, we got to get it. We got to get. And then we got those power computing towers.
Yeah, power towers.
Yeah. To like, to handle that cool art that you guys are doing, which, it's pretty archaic now, but I mean, it was groundbreaking at the time that you guys were doing that.
It had its own vibe.
Man, so many nights sitting there when you guys are drawing that stuff. I thought we were recording. Les is like, nah, I'm doing art tonight. It's like,
I think I'm traumatized to some extent from it because I'm still like, every time I turn my laptop on and it comes on in 2 seconds, I go like, oh, it takes 20 minutes to start up.
Man,
like every time.
So crazy. I mean, and even Les said it in the interview he was on with us. You guys would get all your art drawn and he'd go, okay, render. And okay, guys, we'll come back tomorrow and hope that it worked. And then we'd all leave and come back the next day, 12 hours later and be like, error. It's like, we got to hit render again.
You hit go and you kind of tiptoe out of the room, hoping not to upset
and
him.
Hope nothing happened. Just what a crazy time that was,
I
But
know. So
that album cover art came out decent. I mean, for what it was, I think it was cool.
It was that whole thing was fun.
It seems like that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that was something you could latch onto that wasn't necessarily part of record tour. This is something that you could do in some of that downtime, or I guess, as Soya alluded to, instead of recording. But it seemed like something that you could really sink your teeth into, maybe to broaden your horizons or even just pass the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of like there's always this little back burner thing of you're trying to find new things and trying to innovate and everything. That's how I think all the stuff we've done, it's kind of been on trying to innovate. What's new? What's another thing? And, down to, okay, we can record our own records. We can build our own studios. What can we innovate? What can we do to new?
We can do our own art,
we can buy these
hire somebody to do it.
Yeah. It's all that stuff. And so I think that especially then, like the idea of the CD-ROM, it was like, who knew what this new was? Is there another avenue that we could use to be creative and offer some extra level of something, some kind of extra liner notes, or we didn't really know, but we thought maybe there was some other avenue that could be interesting. And so we kind of just pursued it and went with it. And,
that was cool about what you guys did. I mean, you always were trying to push the parameter, and that's always been Les's, bottom line was we've got to take it somewhere else on our own terms, which is cool.
Yeah, you got to try.
Yeah, you guys found that window, which was really cool because it was ECDs weren't around very long. You guys did one, the Residents did one, and I don't know too many other musical acts that did one that had any traction.
David Bowie did one.
Did he?
Yeah, you're right. Yep. See, good call.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I remember, because it was a big deal because we were such Residents fans, and then we sort of kind of came into each other's worlds there for a little bit with the same people working on those things, and obviously the art around them is so cool, and they're so same thing, kind of innovating, doing their own thing. So we really felt like we were onto something cool if they were onto the same thing. And yeah, you're right. Then the other one was David Bowie.
That's great company all the way around, man. That's cool. Yeah.
we were talking about that gig at Slim's a couple episodes ago. Remember, we did the CD-ROM release, and the Residents came out and did a song. The Eyeballs.
Was that at Slim's?
No. That was at Bimbo's. It was at Bimbo's.
Yeah. Bimbo's, same place.
And these guys are, oh my God, Soya, you met the Residents? I was like, dude, I don't fucking know. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to take care of everything.
No, I have that same.
I might have met the dudes at one point.
Back, I'm trying to think, because that would have been a big deal for me to, see without the eyeballs.
It was a big deal, but remember, it was such a crazy moment to get that together and do that gig, and the Residents were there, and it was. I never even heard the Residents,
No, I think maybe I was probably trying to tell myself, be cool about it. So maybe I would joke it in, and I was like, no big deal. It's just like, some of your heroes walking out on stage standing next to you. It's cool. Not a big deal. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So you haven't gotten to cross paths with them too much with the Eyeballs Off, it sounds like.
No, I think, we did it because at one point we did another show with the Residents at the Fox Theater. I think it was a New Year's show. And there I took them. I made sure to be like, that's the dude.
I've seen him at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are quizzing. These guys were quizzing me, and they're like, so you met him? I'm like, well, I do remember Les going, so yeah, this is some name. He's like, this is the dude from the Residents. I was like, okay, I got to go. Pew, pew, run in the back. I got to grab this. I got to do that. I got to get in my car, run down the street. It's like, I don't know. Who the fuck are the Residents?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew who they were. But
everybody else is like heroes of Jimi Hendrix, and ours is like the guy with the eyeball on his head.
Right.
Larry, I just want to say that Larry Garcia is one of the coolest alter egos of all time. And that leads me to my question about Beanpole. What was it like for you finally seeing that music released physically? And what was it like for you playing with those guys for New Year's Eve 2018?
Oh, man. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about it, but yeah, that was kind of a whole like long thing, kind of realized that band actually making on the stage and playing that stuff, because geez, that music goes so far back. I mean, some of those songs were recorded, those guys recorded like when they were in high school, I think, on 4 tracks. And
oh wow,
Derek Greenberg, right?
That album is probably like 30 years of songs in the making.
And that's just a fraction of the output, is my understanding.
Yeah, there are other songs on SoundCloud which didn't make it to the record.
Probably. I mean, because I know there was all the ones I knew for the most part. I know that Greenberg had done a few other things too. Yeah, that was. Well, I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if Les told you, but he tried to put it out, and
yeah, it was a catastrophe.
Probably people were more about finance or something like, why would you do this?
Yeah. You know what?
It's quite a risk. Yeah.
Sorry, that came with the promotional materials for that. The press release said, I tried to get this distributed by Mammoth in '94, and then they wouldn't talk to me after that. I thought he was making that shit up. That's incredible.
They're like, Frankie, are you out of your mind? Why would you you're going to put this music out?
Oh, wait, Frankie, have you seen the picture of Larry Garcia that I took in the backstage?
I have.
With his arm up.
Yes.
Remember, I was like, come on, Larry, Oakland Coliseum. You're all, dude, that picture's the best ever, dude. We were laughing so hard we forgot to put your ears in. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
We were like drinking beers and
like, oh shit, I forgot
like, come on, photo shoot. All of a sudden it's like, okay, let her go. And you're like, where's my ears? Oh shit. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to be taking care of you. I was drunk.
Like anyway, so
oh shit. That was amazing though. You definitely, we got him in, you got up there and you rocked that one. That was awesome.
Pretty fun. Yeah, it was funny because I just happened to have that because it was, I think the Halloween before I had that. I was either going to be that or Cheech and Chong.
Right.
Cheech or I think I was going to be Chong.
I think
All
Larry
right.
Garcia is my favorite character you've ever been. For
Yeah,
sure.
the people in my neighborhood, right? Because that Halloween before I was actually, my neighborhood's kind of a family neighborhood, and people walking around Halloween costume stuff. And I think I had like a little guitar pack on the back, and I was walking around in that playing Grateful Dead.
Oh, sweet.
You're probably like, who the hell is this guy?
Nobody was tossing you quarters, though, right? They didn't think you were busking.
No, I don't think I played it right. You're right. I should have brought a case with me.
Little tip jar. Yeah.
Could have
Get
made
a
it into a profit deal.
little extra coin there. I'm glad Frankie brought up Beanpole because that is, between when you're working with Primus, that's the big ticket. So you have to take it seriously to a degree, even though, to the fans, they're like, these guys are so irreverent, but you guys are serious about your irreverence. And then with Beanpole, it seems you can just do whatever the hell you want. There's absolutely no pressure. So I'm curious, contrasting those experiences.
It is. The funny thing about Beanpole is you can do whatever you want, but then everyone in that band is like secretly super serious about recording and like, and things being
Really?
in tune or precisely out of tune. There's a lot of, So I've never really thought about it, but it is it feels wide open and it is wide open, but when it comes together, it's very like, let's make this exactly good.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not a joke when they're doing it, but then when the product comes out, it's just a hilarious inside joke.
Yeah, it's kind of a combo. It's like a joke done hopefully well.
Yeah, our joke has to be done very seriously.
Oh, okay.
And
I guess
people are
Because
gonna laugh.
everyone in that band is like very good at recording, very good at playing.
Yeah. Guys like
great.
Adam and Derek and Matt and whoever, they're all fantastic songwriters. So I suppose it does stand to reason they would want to craft everything perfectly. I guess I didn't think of it that way. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
funny because it is sort of like, it's kind of goofy and weird, but then at the same time, it's very crafted in a serious way.
And how was that for you then, contrasted with, doing your day job with Primus, for lack of a better term?
As far as making that record?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my songs that ended up, there's a couple of songs that I wrote that I kind of recorded most of it by myself. They're like banjo and clarinet and stuff. And it's basically just me in my basement at home alone. Just who even knows? Just like, hey, there's these, just making like the dumbest music, Literally like recording the drums. Like I have no idea how to, just pointing a mic at the drums and recording the drums. And,
The Kensington studio, dude.
yeah, that was it.
Wow.
That place is awesome, dude. You had 5 screens and you're all watch, and the cursor goes screen. You're all,
Yeah.
"See that? Did you see that?" I'm like, what does that mean?
That was ultimately the goal of the whole studio, just to be able to like get the cursor to go across all the screens. And it's like, well, now what do we do?
And I was like, okay, so where is the contract that you signed and I'm supposed to bring back to the office? You're like, oh, that's upstairs. Let's go upstairs. You're like, watch again. You're all watch. Cursor. 5 screens, Soya, 5 screens. I was like, all right.
You have to have goals in life.
Yep. Yeah, you achieved them. You and Adam, you definitely achieved some goals in those days, man.
You had some other projects going on in the 90s too. Oh, before I ask that, actually, so the clarinet, was this kind of like a Beefheart thing where you just picked it up and did whatever, or have you some experience with clarinet?
No, I mean, the clarinet was, like, I used to, sometimes I'd just wake up. This is how, like, when I wasn't on tour, I'd wake up and be like, I'm going to drive around the Bay Area and go to guitar stores. There's like, a handful of vintage ones spaced out 40 miles or something. And I'm just going to drive around and see what I can find. And one point I'd found these, it's called Rhythm and Sounds. Well, I have a guitar one too. It's called Rhythm and Sounds for Clarinet. Oh. And it was you plugged into your clarinet and it made an electric clarinet. So I was like, well, now I got to get a clarinet. And then I got a book to see where you put your fingers. And I just kind of tried to figure out how to play it. So that was about the extent of the clarinet training. And then, it sounds like Beanpole.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one funny thing. I remember we were playing at Holy Mackerel, I think, was playing in New York. And I was out there. I don't know if I was living out there. I was just there. And they were opening for Vernon Reed's band. He had like serious jazz players.
That's right.
I had a bass clarinet and I came out and I just played. I have no idea how to play this thing. I know how to like blow through it and make sounds. I went and did a solo. And I guess it was the guy, whoever this heavy jazz guy was like, dude, that was awesome. Like he thought I was a real player. He just thought I had just like taken it so far out.
Yeah, you were out, dude. Yeah, dude, that was some out stuff, man.
I was like, it was like the 6th time I played this thing.
Man, well, Ler, I remember Victim's Family was on tour and we were playing in Austin, Texas one night, and you guys were in town with Rush on the Roll of Bones at the Frank Irwin Arena that night. Called Lefkowitz, got tickets and passes, and we all came down. We saw the show, saw you guys, saw the show, and we tried to get in the back to go say hi, and like our passes didn't do shit, you know, because you guys were done. So I'm calling Lefkowitz, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, dude, I just talked to Les. He said, I wonder where you guys are. They're at the Marriott right across the street. They're about to leave. Go over there. So we all walked over and we sat on the bus and had a beer with you guys. But that I found you guys, the bus was parked there and I walked in the front lobby and you were sitting there with somebody, I can't remember who, and you had a bass clarinet and you were like just playing the bass clarinet, like freewheeling style, like just sitting in the lobby waiting for the bus to or waiting to get on the bus, you know? And I was like, dude, let's go get a beer. Holy shit. I was like, what's up with the bass clarinet? You're all, yeah, dude, you know, I got to do something out here, man.
Well, you know, that bass clarinet may have come up on that Rush tour because I know we were hitting a lot of pawn shops and then.
Right. That was the pawn shop moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we would end up in like, you know, with the Rush guys, like in one of the dressing rooms, and everyone would be playing like, you know, a clarinet or who knows. You know, I remember like
whatever silly instrument you could find.
Yeah. Everyone sort of got into it between like the Rush guys and us. Everyone got into like just doing these jams where like, you know, Alex is playing guitar with a corn chip or something. And
well, I was impressed, I have to say. And then you guys pulled out of the bus and we walked back down to the main street down there and played at the bar for a couple hundred people, Victim's Family style. You know? It's like, dude, we just saw Rush and Primus, man. Everyone's like, who? What? Who cares? Like, this is punk rock, man. We don't care about those bands.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
We're like, dude, it was Rush, man.
It was Rush. You can't pretend like you don't care about seeing Rush, but you gotta.
You gotta give it up. That's actually an interesting thing, Larry, because it seems like you can flow between all these different worlds and groups pretty well, given when on my list here, Beanpole, Kaka, No Force Field, all these cool things you were doing. I don't know that any Kaka footage exists. I don't think I've found any over the years, but those No Force Field records are really great for annoying people when I'm driving around and have it turned way up. I love those records, man. They're so fun. But
you used it in the correct what it was intended for.
Okay,
yeah,
so right. I'm glad I followed the directions without reading them. I appreciate that. That's good.
Man, No Force Field. What a moment, dude. That was
Those
hilarious.
are fun. I don't know. How was that for you to just get into electronic music with your buddies and do this stuff?
Well, it was crazy because we were kind of hanging around that scene with like the Invisible Scratch Pickles, you know.
Yeah.
Look those up, like the Sugar Fragger shows. That's disc. So this was just another thing.
The Hitler hot dog, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, those turntable guys, their whole scene was so insane because they were doing, it was kind of like another version of like, you know, shred kind of guys, what they were doing with turntables. They weren't just like what you would think of a DJ doing or just even simple scratching. It was like really intricate and like the level of like musicianship that went into that. So I was pretty impressed with their whole scene. But then there was another thing to it that was kind of like, they'd make these goofy videos, but they'd be shredding in these videos. And it's kind of a joke, but they're like such a level of playing that it's like, it's a joke, but these guys are badass.
Yeah.
So we kind of started falling into that world. That's why it's like there's, you know, DJ Flair and DJ Disc are on those No Force Field records.
Man,
and it was like, let's just make like the dumbest stuff we can think of and put it together and put it out.
Dude, you and Brain and Disc together was the ultimate trio of nonsense, man. I loved it. When Disc came out and did the Primus tour, I guess that was Snowcore, maybe?
Yeah.
I can't remember. And I would hang out with Disc, you know, and remember Brain had the DJ box in his hotel room.
All right.
But just hanging out with Disc, and he was always trying to be all philosophical and like, Soya, you have to eat onions. It's good for your blood. It's good for your blood. You know? I was like, what are you talking? And he's like on drink 6 at 8 in the bar, waiting for the bus to pull up.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd come in the morning.
I was like, dude, what are you talking?
Disc is awesome. Last time I saw Disc, we were at some show. And I was like, what are you up to? He's like, me and Q we're building a studio in a tank. And I was like, that's a cool idea. He's like, yeah, we're going to drive it around the city and record. And I was like, I didn't know that. I didn't expect the second part. I figured like this cool tank, like in a yard, you know, with the
that's amazing
studio in it. It was like, no, yeah, we're going to drive it around. Like that's Disc. Those are the kind of great ideas Disc has. I mean, I was Mixmaster Mike's DJ tech on the Beastie Boys last runs before they ended. Oh, that's cool. Were the pickles on that one?
it was Mix Master Mike and the dudes, and keyboard dude Money Mark was on it, and there was another Alfredo dude, funny dude. But I was setting up Mike's stuff, and we would talk about disc and the pickles and all that stuff. Was hilarious, dude.
Yeah, those invisible scratch pickles. The videos and the keyboard, like some of them are like, learn how to scratch videos. Those things are amazing. If you want to see some rad turntable stuff, it's really cool. And I mean, I think those guys I can't even imagine. I haven't checked in, but I'm sure it's got to be pretty advanced by now too. I think they just keep going.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into it either. I mean, I look back at some of the old stuff to show people, like, dude, watch this. This isn't like 1998, dude. And look at these dudes, and they're just like going for it, dude. Like,
yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah, you guys kind of had a minute there because I'm thinking of Stray Records, and I was trying to track down some of those CDs, and they're hard to find now. But there are a few good things going on with that one. I somehow found the Gonerville CD. I forget who's even on that one, but I think Brain's probably on that one too.
Yeah, that's Brain and Extract, who was a bass player. They played on a lot, did no fourth field stuff. So that's a cool record. The Gonerville record's cool.
And Extract was from Benoit, right? He played keyboards with House in Benoit, I think.
That I'm not sure of, but
no, wait. Or is Extract Steve Freeman? I can't remember.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's different. Yeah. Okay.
Evo.
The surfing dude.
Yeah.
I love Steve Freeman.
Ler, can I ask you about calling all sandworms? What was your creative process behind that one?
Oh, man. That was, that's what, he was doing the film. And then he said, hey, we have this one part where they're like at a rave. Can you score this part? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And it was great. I just like moved to the mountains, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't even have a studio set up. I kind of just threw a computer up and found like a couple like pieces of gear and just threw that together and sent it to him. And
did you title it that way based on the creatures from Dune?
God, I can't remember what I didn't know. It wasn't. I think it was probably based on something that I heard that was based on Dune, because I didn't really know anything about Dune. People would ask me the same thing later. Yeah, I don't even know where that came from. I think I heard someone say it and I thought it sounded cool or something.
That was a surprising appearance, because I remember seeing that track listing and went, oh, Larry's doing something. Yes. Because it seems like in the 2000s, other than getting together with Primus to tour, for Fromage and Hallucino and these other ones, I didn't hear much from you. You never called. No, I mean,
couldn't find your number, man.
We did. Well, I moved too, so I guess that's the problem. But I guess we didn't hear too much from you. You did tour with Surge, and that was cool. There's some live footage of that out there. But what were you up to? I mean, were you sitting around day trading? What was going on there?
Yeah, that's what I should have been doing. I mean, I'd have to try to figure out. I know that but what years would that have been?
Just in the early aughts, mid aughts.
Yeah, early aughts. I think because I was in New York for a while, and then I got rid of that whole thing, and I moved. I think that's probably. I moved to LA, was hanging out. I met my wife, and we were just hanging out. Yeah, I think I was just kind of hanging around, and I don't know what I was doing. My wife was on a TV show. I think I was just hanging at the beach, just chilling.
Hey, that's not so bad, man. There you go.
Surfing.
Yeah, I was. That's what I was trying to surf.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. It's really hard.
Ler,
that day trading really paid off.
I'm very curious about a specific song that evolved into a complete Primus era. I'm talking about The Storm, because Les Claypool said that originally the Rainbow Goblins was going to be a Claypool and on Delirium project, but then he played The Storm for you on the phone, and you loved the track so much that you claimed it, and you said, no, that has to be a Primus thing. Besides your guitar work being incredible in that song, I'm wondering, what was it about the track that drew you in so much that you wanted that to be Primus?
I think he called me and he was like, hey, he said what you said. He was like, I have this idea for this project, and I'm kind of trying to decide if to deal with Delirium or want to see what you thought about it. And he played me the track. And, like a lot of things, as soon as I heard it, I was like, okay, I've got 5 million ideas for this song right now. So yeah, we should do that. Let's do that. I'm ready. Let's go. Send it to me right now. Start recording.
Wow. Yeah. It's nice of him to give you right of first refusal,
Yeah. Looking back now, I'm glad he called.
It certainly turned into a really cool album and very different. And I didn't know that, Frankie. So, of course, by the way, I don't know if you've listened to too many of our episodes, Larry, but Frankie pulls these things out of the air and just says these little factoids so matter-of-factly, and I feel stupid for not knowing, you know? So
I didn't even know how you knew that. I know. I'm trying to be cool about it here, but like, how does he know this? How does he know this?
Okay, so hold on. So then, Frankie, how many times have they played The Storm live?
Oh, wow. I got to pull out my spreadsheet for that one.
There we go. 52 and a half.
Asking questions specifically and you don't have the factoid in front of you. That's amazing.
That one's a lot.
Josh, we caught him off guard.
Aha. Yeah, we told him no minutia today, but that's why he doesn't have it in front of him. Kind of in that vein, though, Larry, you seem to have this really go with the flow attitude in interviews when you're talking to journalists and I guess us. You have that really go with the flow attitude towards music, it seems, and much of what Primus does. I'm thinking costumes, cover songs, what it is you guys do on a daily basis. Frankie already asked about I Want It Now, but has that go with the flow attitude ever bitten you in another way than having to sing?
I'm sure it has, probably more times than not.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but it sounds like a recipe for disaster to some extent.
Always been fine when I've been around you, dude.
See? So there are
when I'm around, I'm the one
of it working out.
Yeah.
But when I'm around, I'm the one that gets the brunt of the "come on, Soya." It's not "come on, Ler, come on, Lou."
There's a lot of there can be people egging things on, I guess.
Yeah.
Les loves to egg on the situations of his friends getting in weird situations, of course.
Gotcha. Yeah. You don't have to spill anything weird that happened backstage, but I'm just curious
saying,
about with how projects come together and that sort of thing. All of a sudden, you're singing, or doing vocals for this Wonka album, or you're wearing a dress or whatever,
Yeah, well, most of the time, I mean, for things, it seems like most things take a lot more work to happen than you would imagine. So for things like for the Wonka thing to get as far as it had, I think you really had to just keep pushing and pushing and going. Because at the end result from where it started, I remember the day Les called and was like, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing the same thing. He wasn't sure like who he wanted to do it, but he wanted to do the Wonka, reimagine it to some extent. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me think about that. And literally like that night or the next day, they were showing it in the park by my house. And everyone would take the kids to the park to see this movie. And it was playing the next day. And I sat there and watched the whole thing. And I was like, there's so much music in this thing. I don't even know, like, where do you even start?
Yeah.
It seems like a huge undertaking. And so my first thought after I saw the movie, I was like, I don't even know. What do you make of this? And so, chipped away at it and it got to where it was. And that's definitely, you have to go with the flow on everything to get it that far. Now thinking about it, when you frame it that way of go with the flow, it's like, yeah, I think if you probably would have pushed back on things or said like, I don't know about that too much, things wouldn't evolve. So I don't know.
Man.
I guess in life, you got to go with the flow to make things happen.
But man, the moment at Prairie Sun when it all came together, when Les came up with that idea and said, we're doing it. I remember I built that drum kit for Tim. Like, oh, dude. And I had to move it down to the room down below. Then we had to move it to some other rehearsal room in
and then you had to move it around the whole country.
When Teddy
around the world.
Dude, the first kit was just Tim didn't have a drum kit. Remember, Goob brought me some drums because Tim just got back in. That was that first big show, was that New Year's show. So Tim's like, he's like, oh, Goob's got my drum kit. And he shows up with like some drums and some parts of some stands. And he's like, this is it. This is what's been in my barn for the last 10 years. I'm like, where's the drum? Wait, whoa, dude. And it's like, we got to create this thing. And like, I went to Les's house and pilfered through his stuff and pilfered through my stuff. Was in part of that kit, that one that we used at the Fox that night for the one that Josh was at. Frankie, were you at that gig too?
No, I wasn't at that one.
That drum kit was like,
but I've seen a lot of videos.
It took at least 2 hours for even Tim Soya to get up and down. It was just ridiculous.
That's
man.
like
it was
12 hours for a mere mortal.
So then, of course, we got to the tour moment, and it was like I streamlined it. But man, Laura, I just remember that all coming together, and we had to make it happen.
So you're saying I should show up late because I didn't see any of that happen. There was a drum set. I was like, that thing's cool.
No, you were like, I got my amps, I got a couple of guitars, I'm cool. I'll sing a song. It's all good, dude.
See, if you go with the flow, you might end up singing a song.
Yeah.
Tim's like, put a cowbell here, put something, get some frying pans and put them over here. I was like, oh man, dude, how many more things we're going to add to this, dude? It's crazy. And it turned out so amazing. I do recall, I kid you not, barely ever read Primus fan retorts or reviews. And I remember reading that the Primus Sucks was out at that time now on the Facebooks, right, Josh?
Yeah. Oh, that
and
Facebook
Frankie.
group? Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, it just was like the best show I've ever seen in my life. Like 20 dudes in a row. I've seen 50 Primus shows. That's not only the best Primus show, but the best show I've ever seen in my life. Best show. I was like, okay, here we go, guys. To Mills, I'm like, this is going to go on tour, dude. We're going to have to get this figured out. And within 2 weeks, it's like, Brad called me. All right, dude, we got to figure this out. We're going to tour this. I was like, oh, man, dude. How are we going to take this around the world? Holy shit. We did.
I got to say, Soya definitely gets some big props for that one. That dude, I don't even know how you must have been pretty tired after that one between the drums and the
3 drum sets, the B-roll shooting, the whole thing, dude. I did all of it.
That was part of the funnest part of the show was watching the B-roll to see where you'd been all day, see where you had ended up.
If you notice in the beginning, it was all, okay, I'm by the statue in town. Everyone, oh my God, the Oompa's in town. And like halfway through the tour, it's like, there's Soya at the bar with the Primus fans in the Oompa outfit, like holding the beer up going, what's up?
Yeah. It's like he rolled into town and said, what brewery's in this town?
I'm like, we're going to the brewery.
It turns out a lot of towns that they are very proud of the brewery. So
that's exactly what happened. I'm not kidding, dude. Like, okay, runner, got your van. Okay. Where's the bar where the Primus fans hang out? I got the Oompa outfit. Let's go. He goes, oh, fuck, dude. This is going to be awesome. I know all my friends are already over there getting ready for the show tonight. This will be great. Walk in with the outfit on. It's like the whole place erupts. There's like 20 dudes in there drinking, getting ready for the show.
I mean, it sounds pretty good. I'm kind of thinking.
Who's buying me a beer? Which one of you guys are buying me a beer? They all bought me a beer, and all, me and Jason McHugh or whatever, it's hilarious.
This is all an elaborate plan to get free beer.
Ler, I have another Wonka question, because the first time that I played the album, of course, I Want It Now was a song that stood out completely because of your vocals. But then a few days later, I noticed that somebody had actually synced up the original film with the Primus album, particularly the musical numbers. And that was the first time that I watched the film. And the reprise of, Hello Wonkites and then Farewell Wonkites at the end, the way that it was synced up with the final scene of the movie, it made the song sound so incredibly compelling. And I think that your guitar work is what makes that song. And I was wondering how you came up with something so evocative for the ending of the album. Because, I just repeat that track over and over, and I never get tired of the guitar because it's just so amazing.
Well, thanks. Trying to remember, it's all slide, right? It's very David Gilmour.
Yeah. I will agree, Frankie. That moment, Ler, was amazing for me every night because I was finally getting out of the Oompa costume, and you were playing that part, and I was finishing my last beer, my 3 beers I would allow myself to do the Oompa dance every night.
So it had built-in impact for you.
And so, but just it was that moment. I mean, I agree, Frankie. That slide part was amazing, dude. It really was a very epic moment in my head as I was working, getting ready to load out.
Well, seemed like a good idea at the time.
No, it was amazing. No, come on.
I know. I'm glad to hear that it was appreciated. But
how do you judge yourself against other golfers? By height.
So, well, Frankie brings up a good point, because as soon as you said that, Frankie, now I'm thinking of all these album closers. I don't know, Larry, if you have a preternatural ability to really put a button on things as far as album closers go, because we could go down the track list, but each one of them, Primus is really good at album closers. It's a strange thing to say, but I really think you're really good at putting a button on those things. And I don't know if that's something when you guys are in the studio, you go, all right, this is the last track, so let's make sure we're doing this or whatever. I think Soya kind of dispelled that for us for Punch Bowl. I don't know if that's ever part of the consideration. Obviously, it was for Wonka, because this is going to be the last song of the album, given the content. Yeah. But curious if that ever enters the conversation.
Chances are, I mean, I'd have to look at it and see what the flows are. But I think, most of the time it's probably the sequencing's done after for the most part.
Yeah.
I think maybe I could be wrong. There could be a mishmash of both. Obviously, the Wonka one, it was kind of predetermined, and the Goblin record is, it was sequenced a certain way. So I'm sure that came into play with the Wonka thing to try to make the last part epic and sort of whatever it became. It sort of had to seem like a farewell kind of.
The last song on Seas is Fish On, right?
Bastardos.
Not that, not the tag out at the end, but the last real song.
Right, that's the last
That's
one,
a
right?
song?
Come on, you know what I'm saying?
Bro?
And the last song on Punch Bowl is Grapevine. You know, I mean, it's like there's always this magnetism to put the epic one big song that's like trippy and out as the ender of the record. You know, I've thought about that when we've made records with our band, my bands I've done. You know.
This is where I should probably say, "Oh yeah, we totally planned it that way," right?
I mean, like
I'll clip
like
that,
Josh said, we talked about that, and I said,
you'll sound,
it wasn't something that Les said we're doing Grapevine last, and these guys are asking me. I was like, dude, I wasn't involved in the conversation of what the order of songs was. You know, I mean, we all discussed it as in fodder through the recording process, but ultimately, it just kind of unfolds as it really has to unfold, song to song to song. And there's side A ends and side B starts and side B ends. And you always put that big epic, the camera eye and side two, you know, it's like that for me. You know, that's how I always see it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pretend like we planned it that way.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I know. I'm saying I don't remember there being a plan.
It's hard to say. I don't really know. Maybe I'm not sure.
You guys just seem to have that going for you because it's you go down the list, but I'm thinking of My Friend Fats, which is really pushed and tripped out, and even in Arnie, I love that track. It's just so nice and groovy and tripped out. You know?
Arnie, Ler, Arnie.
So
yeah, I mean, I never thought about it, but
yeah.
That's why I'm glad that I'm talking to you guys. You're right. They are good at songs.
Put that on your CV, man, and thank me later.
I have to listen to the Brown album again. I have not listened to it. Songs were where they were on that record. And if you remember, Les was adamant about having the drums in the room, right, where the board is.
Right.
And Brain's like, no, come on, man. We got to break ranks. We got to put the drums in that big giant room over there where you just move the pool table out of. And he's like, man, the only way we're going to do that is if I can do one mic. And so that's why that opening song, what's the opening song on
The Return of Sappington Willoughby?
Where he's like,
oh yeah,
and it's just like one mic, you know? And it goes for like 5 minutes or some shit.
Yeah, that drum beat is Rest in Bones.
Yeah,
that's Rest in Bones.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying I have to listen to it again before we get into these breakdown songs. But do you remember, Laura, that we really fought Les to get the drum set out of that room? And come on, man, we got to try for something different, man.
I don't remember.
It was a deal. We struck a deal that he could do one mic on the drum set, and we could.
I remember everyone wanting to do the one mic kind of Zeppelin style at one point.
Yeah, because we based that whole sound on the Brown album around Physical Graffiti. Remember, we A/B'd the Mackie to the 1-inch tape that he had gotten, and we all had that blind taste test, and we all agreed on this one. Me, you, and Brain agreed, and it turned out to be the 1-inch tape and not the ADATs.
Jeez, got a good memory.
I was there a lot more than you were.
I know. That's probably why. See, there's a lot of snowboarding on that album.
Ler, I wanted to ask you about a particular song. Speaking about solos or riffs, I mean, stuff like Wynonna's Big Brown Beaver, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver. I mean, those are classics. But there is some really, really overlooked and underrated stuff in the Primus catalog regarding your guitar work.
Space Farm.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing that you've ever done, Ler, is actually Chastising of Renegade. In case you don't recall the track, I mean, we could play a portion for you, but in case that you do recall it, what was your approach to that song? I
think that's the one. It starts with a drum beat, right?
Right.
And West comes in, and so I think to start it off, I was just kind of finding the in between parts. It was like almost like if you sat there and looked at the beat stuff going by, it'd be obvious where the guitar was going to go. It's like, oh, where the holes are, that's where the guitar's. So that's probably what it was. I was probably just, adding to the rhythm of whatever those guys were doing, because everything was playing off each other, and there was a little hole in there somewhere, and it's kind of that backbeat part.
But you came up with a really, really incredible melody for that song.
Okay, I mean, now that's the part I'm not remembering off the top of my head what the melody was.
Oh, this one. Because, I mean, I want to show it to you because it's really genius. and then you go off into the really epic solo.
I'm assuming that was probably just a part that Les and Brain had already played, and I just learned the part and played over it with an octaver, like, Jimmy Page style.
It's genius,
Neutron.
Ler.
Well, thanks, but that credit might go to Claypool. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah, that's part's killer that I wrote.
Absolutely. Now you're talking.
I'll get it. I'll figure this out.
You've been very kind with your time, by the way. I don't want to keep you too long. I got a couple of other things, if you don't mind. And you've talked about it a lot, and you're trying to talk about it with Renegade there. We've talked to Soya a lot about making these records, and often you're the third one in to lay down a part. And that's just kind of how it worked out, and that's how it works, and it really works on these records. But for the past, at least for the Punch Bowl episodes, we've just been calling it, we talk about the drums, we talk about the bass, and then we say, okay, then we get to Ler Land, because we don't know what the hell's going on half the time, which is really a lot of the fun. That's just what comes from his brains and out through his fingers. And we talked to Joe Gore a long time ago, and he said, yeah, I tried to figure out what he's doing and to me, and I think he was cribbing this from Adrian Belew or something, and he just said, for Larry, it's just magic fingers go, and off they go, that sort of thing. And I know you've said before, you've described your playing as playing all the wrong notes or sounding like angry chickens, which is a fantastic description. But I'm sure there's some truth to it, and maybe you're being facetious when you say that sort of things. But, is there something more there than, finding the space and playing wrong notes? I mean, because you've pushed the limits a lot through your music. So I'm curious, kind of that thought process in general.
I mean, I think, pushing the limits, like you said, is maybe the goal most of the time, because it's sort of, that's what we're here to do, is try to come up with something new. I remember for a long time, I kind of had the thought, I might have even heard it from Zappa or something. They're like, if it's undone before, then what's the point of doing it? Right. Yeah, obviously you can't do everything, can't be new, or something's got to, everything can't be a new idea. But I think the goal is usually just to try to find something that, it's always to make the song better, to make everything better around it, to make it more interesting, to make it worth listening to, I think. It's usually, if I'm searching, trying to figure out something for the song, that's what it's going to be. How can I make this more interesting? How can I make people want to listen to this and not be like, this is boring, or, it's already not, because the basis of what's under me is already good. So yeah, I think the gist of it is, how can I make it better or make it flow? A lot of times my job is to make the song flow, to move parts to another part, to make a part that, the whole song might not change at all. The part might stay the same, but I switch my part to make the song go somewhere else. Or
right on.
Yeah.
Well, Ler, me and you both came up in that metal world when you had to come up with something different. You had to be faster. It had to be more intense. You know what I mean? Remember that progression scale where, oh, that band's pussy because they're not even as fast as Yngwie. No way. You know what I mean? And like when you get into like the Primus world where you got, and it was like, okay, I have to take on Todd's parts. And then it enveloped into you were the guitar player, and you had to come up with your own style and stuff. And I think it really shines, man, because you really found a really cool place that I call Ler Land. That's where these guys got that. Because I'm like, man, Ler just goes out into Ler Land. Well, we were at Rancho and we sat there for hours trying to get the solo. It's like, or the part, it's like Ler's out there. I don't know, man.
Well, I mean,
that one good, Ler? Yep. No, that's it. That's it. Okay.
Like, I'm sure every band has that same thought, though, of like, oh, how can I make this better? What can I do? How can I make this different? How can I make it unique?
Yeah.
How can I make it but luckily for this band, it makes it way easier for me to do that because everyone's on board for.
Right on.
It's, I don't know. It's not like, oh, that doesn't sound like something that will be a hit, or it doesn't sound like the last thing that was popular or something. We don't have any of that notion of all.
Yeah. And that's the coolest thing about it, is that the creativity is not about making a hit and selling records. It's just about being creative. And your playing is so creative. It's not about being Eddie Van Halen making that perfect solo for Jump on the keyboards or something. You know what I mean? You do your own thing and you do it like perfectly, in your own world, and we get what we get out of it. And it's awesome.
Yeah. To that end, I'm curious, how much do you think you are an amalgam of your influences, in the sense that, do you hear something when you're playing, and we've talked to other musicians about this throughout the podcast, when you find yourself playing a guitar line, do you hear oh, that's a Zappa thing, or that's a Garcia thing, or is that ever entering your mind at all when you're kind of piecing these things together?
I mean, to be honest, I can sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm always trying to come up with something new or whatever, but there's, probably more than 50% of it is based on something. I had something in the back of my mind that I heard or triggered or something, could be, there's a lot of things I could point to and be like, this is where I got that from. This is where I got that from. And if I told you, you'd be like, so dumb. That's where you got that from.
Neil Hamburger.
How did you decide that the Saturating 7 album needed some acoustic guitar work?
I'm not sure. I don't know if we talked about putting an intro on it or if I came up with it. It was based on sort of, I don't know if it sounds like it, but it's sort of based on the song itself. Although it doesn't really sound like it, but if you kind of if you really looked into it, it is sort of like a classical version of the song itself, parts of it.
Yeah, I mean, I caught 7 shows of that tour, and each night, one of the highlights for me was watching you do the intro for the Trek. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh man, that was the part where I was like, don't fuck this up, don't fuck this up. It's hard to play on that stand, but well, I'm glad you enjoyed it then. Hey, Frankie's listening to this.
I never saw any of the 7 shows. Zero. I saw zero.
Oh, you missed out big time.
Yeah.
I was on Roger Waters. I missed it, man.
Ler, on the last Primus tour, was it daunting for you to tackle Professor Nutbutter's House of Treats again, considering the really, really epic solo at the end?
Love that.
Oh, Lou, me and you up there recording that one. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a lot. Well, that's one of those songs where it's kind of, there's a very loose structure to it. So you kind of, that's one where you do have to kind of maybe come up with a lot of parts to make things change. Or off the top of my head, I'm picturing that because I know it's like the form of that song is really bizarre. It's really weird. And there's spots
where very metal. It's very chunky metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that ending just goes on and on. And then you go up one octave. It's like I believe I was sitting there watching you when I was sitting at the little tape machine start and stop, remember?
Yeah. You're going like, you're going to actually get away with this part.
You're like, okay, I'm done. Let's take a break. I think we got it, dude. Les came out. He's like, that's it. Like, okay, I don't have to play it again. Thank God, Jesus Christ.
Go stick your hand in some ice.
Really no. I mean, I kind of picture, and I know there's a lot of that part going, but I think it probably was just building on because I think the structure of that is, like I say, I think it's really loose. I probably was just trying to hack to the needs of how do I make a guitar part that fits with this whole thing.
It was awesome.
On the other extreme, I mean, something extremely compact, the guitar solo for Pilcher's Squad.
Oh, yeah. The
shortest guitar part in Primus history, but it's, shortest guitar solo, but so amazing. How did you come up with that?
I think I just went for it. And then that was like, all right, cool. Yeah, that works. That was literally just playing shapes and triangles and,
Triangles.
Yeah, there's a lot of triangles in that solo.
Boxing. You could do it. I can't do it. The boxing thing. What was the Fishbone dude did the boxing? I'm boxing, dude.
Oh yeah, that was
the thing with his arms. No, Les claimed on the interview we did with him that guitar solo was sure to be a hit because of that solo.
He said he thought Pilchers would be a big
that
single.
song was going to be a hit because he knew your solo was so epic. I don't even know it. I don't know if I've ever even heard it, dude.
Yeah,
I got to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, Adam Gates has said more than once that it's the greatest moment in Primus history. So you've got that
and
going
Adam
for
said
you, man.
that as well. Yeah,
he loves that one. So I just want to ask you one more thing, and Soya, I'm actually going somewhere with this, so don't worry, man. But there's actually kind of a subculture around your hair, and I don't know if I started it, but like you've got seriously, dude, you have the hair of a god, and and it's weird because I'll talk to people about it, and they go, "Yeah, man, it's incredible." Please dispel any misconceptions I have, because I have a feeling if you go out heading to the beach or something, I just have a feeling that women are screaming and grown men are fainting and children just stare at you in awe. I actually asked Zoltron once, he was doing kind of an ask me anything thing. This is what this is leading to. I asked Zoltron, what kind of shampoo does Ler use? I am directly quoting Zoltron, who said, breast milk of a virgin forest nymph.
I thought it was, gee, my hair smells terrific.
What you doing in my shower?
I just need to know your secrets because I just keep mine tied up because it's so fine and it doesn't flow like yours, man.
That's usually where mine is usually tied up too. The secret is just don't ever get a haircut. Be super lazy and never wake up and go, I'm going to get a haircut today. And then that's how you can get hair like that.
All right.
Your hair grows fast too, I have to say. My wife's, her hair grows, and my daughter's, their hair just grows like a weed. And mine is like, I'm going to shave my head probably tomorrow because it stopped growing.
It's all that clean living I do. That's the key to growing hair.
I'm going to be flaunting Fred status pretty soon here.
Ler, I'm going to tell you something based on what Josh just shared. One time I showed my parents the performance of Jerry Was a Race Car Driver on Dennis Miller. My dad was pretty impressed. He said, wow, they're playing it just like the studio version. Like they can actually transfer those weird sounds to a live environment. But my mom was not impressed with the music. She said that you have the most beautiful hair she had ever seen in her life.
Oh.
Wow. I like this now. Just something.
What's your mom's name?
The first time my hair has come, something good has been said about it.
Oh man, there's a Larry's Hair fan club out there somewhere. Yeah. I think mostly because
shaver right here, I just started shaving.
I think part of it is we've talked to a lot of photographers, and most recently we talked to Carla, who you probably remember, and she said, man, his hair, his beautiful hair, and he's a dreamy dude, and a lot of Primus fans agree with that, but it's always in his face, so photographing him, catching his face can be tough. So so I guess you have that extra layer of security around you when it comes to not wanting to be in the spotlight.
It helps to filter out the outside noise so I can focus on that solo.
Filters the squad.
Yeah,
a lot of the photographers like Carla miss when you shaved your head back during the Lollapalooza moment.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
It was right before Lollapalooza, I think. You totally shaved your head.
Really?
There was a photo in Lefkowitz's office for a while that was you guys. Not bald, like it was fur. What the hell did Ler do?
I don't remember that. I kind of remember pausing it pretty. Yeah, maybe I did.
Yeah.
No, you did.
Yeah,
you did.
I'll take your word for it.
Ler, Tim is the Bowie police on this podcast. He doesn't allow these kind of questions, but I'm going to sneak this one in because it's actually Primus related. Les revealed to us that you guys recorded a version of Fame during the Antipop sessions. What recollections do you have about that cover?
Oh, man. I remember doing it. Kirk Hammett played on part of it, I believe. I don't even know why we were doing it.
Maybe like a bonus track for a single or something like that?
I think it was supposed to be like for something and
B-side or something.
I remember, and then that's why I never realized that there's like the John Lennon acoustic guitar in the background, and we started picking it apart. That's what I remember, is learning that there's a John Lennon acoustic guitar in the background.
Cool. Les said that he was, kind of appalled with it, so he never released it. But what was your impression about it? Did you actually like it?
I think it sounds like he had the right take on that one from what I remember.
So, Laura, I'll ask you, because there's a bunch of records I'm not on. These guys ask me every time about tracks unused or shelved on records, Obviously, on everything I've been around you guys with, there was never anything extra. Antipop, there was that. Is there any extras anywhere? I mean, I know about that weird... There's a couple tunes that never really saw the light of day that were remixes, but
no, I don't think there was.
You guys never have leftover tracks after a recording run that I wasn't there, right? Like on
because just trying to picture back how the workflow would have been, and I don't think we would have like saved something that we weren't going to use or didn't like. I don't think we would have wasted tape on just keeping it around, because like how would we going to go find that again or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So chances are I don't think we ever, anything that seemed like we were going to use, we kept
erased it and just moved on.
Yeah.
Saved the tape. Yeah. 2-inch tape is not cheap, dude.
No way, man. Record over that shit.
Yep. that sucks. Get rid of it.
That's this piece of tape. Physical graffiti, record over it.
Yep. That's what I thought. I mean, I keep trying to tell these guys think I've got some secret knowledge of some stored unused tracks that are in the vault somewhere.
We can't even find the ones that we did record.
They just don't exist.
Yeah.
They're called No Force Field. And, Space Farm 3.
Yep.
Take 3.
Listen, if Space Farm made it onto the record, there's no other pieces of stuff floating around.
I want take 3 of Space Farm is what I'm saying. There's those other 2 takes you guys did of Space Farm. Where are those?
Yeah, there's no alternate versions of Space Farm.
Oh,
Lefkowitz can't find the tapes, dude.
That's kind of our unofficial anthem is Space Farm, and we're big fans of that one. So I don't know if you can get it onto the set list somehow, but at least 3 people would be thrilled.
That sounds like enough to spark the idea of it.
That'll justify it.
It's whatever the thing you got to pull pick the animal on the thing and then pull the cord.
Yeah,
man. I think you remember I called you 5-6 months ago about Space Farm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because that's how he told me about you guys were doing this. He was like, "You guys are doing a thing," and they're talking. I was
like, "Dude,
this
come on,
a real thing.
I need some info. You got to remember." You're like, "Dude, what? I don't remember." Who fucking knows?
Okay, well, so did we ever figure out? Was it? I know we did the Zoo Radio thing for the U2. We'd done like they wanted songs from all the bands or something for the. Maybe the guy was spinning them out there because they had the DJ in the car out in the stadium.
And he played Space Farm?
Well, they wanted to do a track to contribute to whatever this thing was. And I think we probably recorded in the dressing room,
Right.
Or Space Farm, some version, something. I don't know. That's my remembrance of it.
Dude, I saw that tour in Detroit at the Silverdome. Remember I was there that one night?
Dude, that was the night they played with Bill and Ted. Not Bill and Ted, Wayne's World dudes.
Wayne's World dudes.
Oh, no shit.
Piped in for in the Pontiac Silverdome.
Remember me and Turk Black were there.
That was a heavy night.
Yeah, that was heavy. We were hanging. We were having beers.
Ler, you're huge on Zappa, so I was wondering if the performance of Dumb All Over during Tour de Fromage was your request, or if you just told Les, like, I want to do a Zappa song, and he chose that one. Like, how did you guys pick that specific song?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I kind of vaguely remember. So when did we do that song? Because I remember doing it, but I don't remember why or how it came about.
I just remember we listened to the recording not long ago.
Yeah, we just
and
played
your
it
amp
on
went
Saturday.
out, man.
Did someone sing it?
Yeah, Les sang it. You guys played Dumb All Over at Irvine, California, at the Verizon Wireless Amphitheater in 2004.
Irvine Meadows.
Yeah. We're playing Irvine Meadows. We might as well play Dumb All Over. It's one of them. That's funny.
Weird things happen at weird moments. You never know.
I thought you were going to say like some bizarre like little club in Italy or something.
Well,
El Blanco Elefanto in Spain. Remember that one?
Is that the underground one? Where it was like 600 degrees?
That's the one that Brain always claims as the worst gig ever was El Blanco Elefanto.
It sounds like a great gig.
Yeah.
It was like in like Malaga or somewhere way south Spain. It was this tiny little shitty club, that disco club with the cushion seats in it and stuff. Man. Like right up to the front.
Too bad we didn't have iPhones back then.
No, we had there's no images.
We can pull it up right now, Malaga or whatever.
Funny stuff. Man. That's all I'm saying. It was funny stuff.
Well, I gotta say, Larry, thank you so much for the time. You've talked to us for nigh on 2 hours, and I'm sure you've got things to do. So I really
can I ask you
it.
just one last question, Ler?
And
just
Frank cannot ask you one last question. No, I'm kidding. All right.
My favorite Neil Hamburger album is Left for Dead in Malaysia. What's yours?
Oh man,
Great Phone Calls is mine.
I mean, Great Phone Calls is the greatest one ever. But
you're not doing yourself any good, Larry.
Dude, that's a good one. That's a good best Neil Hamburger. I think they're all the best ones.
I don't eat cooked flour.
Keep spitting them, Soya. Keep going, man. That's great.
No, come on. Lur's not retorting, so whatever. He's not into it.
Hopefully the sound's good. I didn't even ever stop to think about if the sound was even good coming to this thing, but hopefully.
Oh, dude, you sound great. Yeah.
What's the difference?
You guys doing this? That's cool that you guys have taken this level of interest in it, and so my life has not been a waste. All this.
We're here for you, pal. Thanks again, man. This was so great.
Yes, Larry. Thank you so much. We truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
Likewise. Thanks.